Well, welcome to another edition of the CSG Vodcast. Thanks for joining everybody. Today, our guest is Daniel Lozier from Primary Funding. Daniel's been in the financial industry for the past 12 years or so. He's a graduate of San Diego State, go Aztecs. He worked for California Bank and Trust, but he's been with Primary Funding since about 2012. He provides accounts receivable financing and factoring for owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Factoring is a simple approach to access immediate working capital without taking any debt, diluting equity, or acquiring an equity partner. Daniel is going to teach us all a bit about this. So welcome, Daniel, to our vodcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited to be on and thanks for having me.
We appreciate having you. So why don't we just start with the basics? Why don't you explain factoring? I've heard the term, but I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been around for years and years and years, but it's, a financing vehicle that's largely unknown. So part of it is just educating the masses and people out there that, hey, this is a financing option available to other business owners. But what factoring is essentially we're looking at assets and lending to a percentage of them. The specific asset that we look at are the accounts receivables of the business. And then it gets as granular to the point where we are actually financing individual invoices up to a certain percentage. And then that's what's ultimately generating cash flow. And the whole idea behind factoring or accounts receivable financing or invoice financing is to help companies achieve and obtain their growth objectives by generating and speeding up their cash flow. So if we kind of think about it, if we have just as a very easy example, if you have a manufacturing company that's manufacturing a widget and selling to, let's just say, a large retail chain, like let's say Walmart or Costco, they've sunk a bunch of money into, manufacturing, creating and delivering these units, actually delivering them to their end customer, let's say Walmart or Costco. And they say, Walmart and the customer says, thank you, ABC company. This is great. You did a wonderful job. We're going to take these products now. And by the way, we're going to pay you 60 days, which actually means 75 to 90 days later. So while the sales and revenue and being able to deliver for those customers are great, what ends up happening for these small to mid-sized business owners is they have sunk a bunch of money into creating this product and getting it delivered, and now are having to wait until they actually receive payment on it 2-3 months later. And so that delay causes a significant cash crunch for these business owners, especially if you think about, well, they just fulfilled an order for customer A. Meanwhile, customers B, C, and D all have orders from them, but all their cash is tied up in this first order. So again, long-winded answer, but the whole idea behind what we're doing is just to help business owners generate and speed up their cash flow so they can take advantage of any sort of growth opportunity that they face with.
Cool. That's kind of what I thought it was. So just for a dummy like me, let's say I've got a contract with, like you said, Walmart, and I have to deliver X amount of stuff or products or services, but I'm not going to get paid for 60 to 75 days, and I need to live. So we can take that contract, technically an invoice, and somehow you guys can help finance some cash flow to help us get through that period.
Yeah, exactly right.
Huh. Well, that I've seen a lot of companies that have a lot of challenges around that, and some of the examples I've heard of, maybe you could expand on this, are people that work either making deals with government agencies, cities, municipalities, and they're typically very slow to pay. Do you see a lot of that, especially around here where we have a lot of DoD type businesses?
Yeah, we do. I mean, one of our, I guess, specialized industries that we work with is, government contracts and municipalities, but to
Hmm.
all the reasons that you had explained prior to, one, those contracts typically are larger in nature and over longer periods of time. And when you're dealing with the federal or local government, it's great, and that they're going to pay. It's just a matter of when, right? And so,
Right.
what we were talking about before, right? So you've hired a bunch of people to do these government contracts, well, whatever the product and or service that you guys are offering. And then you're just having to wait. And typically, especially in the government contracting space, I mean, terms are net 60 to net 90, and that's 2, 3, 4 months of operating and ongoing working capital expenses that you're going to need to cover. So we tend to help out and see a lot in that space. And Dave, as you mentioned, San Diego being a military town, I mean, we get in front of a lot of those types of contracts and deals.
Oh, you do. So would you specialize in that, do you think, or?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's one of the industries that we take a look at that a lot of companies in our space don't want to do or like to do. It's again, local governments, municipalities is a little bit different, but once you start dealing with the federal government, um, the laws start changing a little bit, and so we have experience in there. We're well versed in that, so it allows us to explore and be able to take advantage of those opportunities well, help out that specific industry.
So that leads me to a pretty good question. So your company primary funding, what are the sizes of the companies you like to do business with? Maybe a minimum to a maximum, or is there such a thing?
There is. I mean, um, we're somewhat unique in the fact that we're a direct lender, so it is our own money that we're
Hmm.
choosing to lend out and deal and work with companies. The good news of that is that it's local decision making. I, along with 2 other partners, are the owners of the company. All the decisions are made in house. So I mean, conversations, we're able to make quick decisions. We're able to help out. We're able to think logically through situations. Um, and so things happen quickly, and we're able to provide flexibility, creativity, and just adjust to the situations which small business owners are faced with on a daily basis. The downside to that is that there is a limit to what we can do, given that just our size. In general, I like to say that we're really dealing with the small to mid-size companies. I
Hmm.
mean, from annual revenues, we've helped startup companies, but really, once you start doing like 30 to 40 million in top line revenue, it starts getting out of our capacity.
Okay, so anywhere
So
from,
a broad.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Give us the
No,
idea.
yeah, I was just saying, it's relatively a broad range from a revenue side, and I think a lot of local companies fit within that. But it is good to know that, hey, like if you've got $100 million company, it's probably not something that we're going to be the right fit for.
How about what about too small? Is $1 million too small in revenue company?
No, again, I would say from a facility size standpoint, like our minimum is probably $25,000. Like we wouldn't really want to go anything below that.
Hmm.
Um, but we've helped, startup companies that are operating in like the temporary staffing space that are
Nice.
ramping up. Uh, we've got a handful of clients now that are doing a few $1 million per year, and those are great long time clients. So
Nice.
we can kind of help all in there. There's really no
Cool.
minimum. I would say that if you would have to put a number on it from like a monthly volume standpoint, we'd probably want to see something over about 25,000.
Okay. God, that's great. So that's good. A good place to start from. So, boy, thanks a lot, Daniel. We really appreciate you coming on. And for those of you watching out there, there'll be information on how to reach out to Primary Funding and Daniel. If you have some more questions about whether your company would fit or he could work with you, all the information will be there. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. And yeah, please feel free if anybody has any questions or wants to chat through situations or just curious, always here to help out.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.